I feel like I needed to do a deeper dive on this. I recently posted a video about um, what people call themselves, how they identify, self identification. And I thought it was quite clear in my explanation. But a lot of people seem to have, or a couple of people, but I'll post right here what one of the messages was. And essentially what the individual was saying, and I'm not upset with him, mad or whatever. I'm glad he posted, and feel free to, comment on this as well. But essentially what he said is that, you know, I needed to do more research, and if I did a DNA test, which, by the way, do not trust DNA tests, especially that company. I'm not going to use their name. There's enough of them out there. I'm not going to use their particular name because I don't want them coming after me. But um, there was a guy who did a test. He as a pet, he had it was either iguana or some kind of reptile type pet he had. He swabbed its mouth with a cotton swab and sent it to them. Do you know it classified that iguana as half black? Help me out with that. I remember back doing the COVID um, that they had over in Africa. Speaking of Africa right now, over in Africa, one of the prime ministers wanted to see how accurate these tests were. He took a piece of fruit. I think he took one of the animals, and he did one other thing. And he also used himself. And he sent it to the labs. And it said that they all had it, with the exception of one of them. So anyway, I'm not going to go down that road. But anyway, let me get back to my point. Nonsense. So don't trust those DNA tests. But where I wanted to go with this, based on the message that I received, and this is more or less with people of color. And I don't care about culture. Culture has its benefits if you are doing certain things. But where has culture gotten us? Where has the so called black culture gotten us? I'll wait. Has it gotten us booty shaking? Has it gotten us twerking? Has it gotten us rap music? Not where it started from, but now um, it's degenerated into something ridiculous. Now that's now. Where it started from, back when we had what was called Black Wall Street, and back before the Civil Rights era, so-called black folks was striving. So before I get too far off course, black and white are human constructs. It is not normal for people to call themselves a color. Before all of the landmass broke off into the different parts of the world, Europe, America, all the Americas, um, Asia, the Asian nations, it was all one landmass. When it was all one landmass, that's where the origins of humankind started. Now, if you want to say that once all the landmass broke off, that technically that was Africa, great, go with that. So we'll say humankind started in Africa. Let's just use that as a point of reference, whether you consider it truth or not. So when all the landmass broke off, wherever you were at that time, is where that those people ended up. When the landmass broke off, if you were in Europe, that's where you came up at. If you were in the Americas, that's where you ended up at. Asia, that's where you ended up at. Now, there's a tweak in here that I'm trying to explain. Now, is that to say that, you know, everybody migrated to different parts? Some people migrated after the landmass broke off because they were traveling across what was called icy, there were ice land mass that they had to travel across. Now, to my point, you have to be then, again, if you were in Asia, you would come up in what you would consider an Asian culture. You're going to be typically, I'm just saying, I'm trying to describe this as simple as possible. You would have had a light to brown complexion, maybe me, maybe a little lighter. If you were in Europe, you would have had a lighter, or what you might call white complexion, because you're dealing with less sun. So that means that the body doesn't need the melanin though the body needs the skin to be lighter to absorb the whatever. I'm trying to figure the word out here. That you're getting from whatever light was out. Just because the sun is out doesn't mean that that there's not light, that your body won't absorb. And if you still remained in Africa, then you would have needed, well, the melanin would be to protect you from the UV rays. Now, my family in particular were in the Americas. Now, you have some that are in South America. You have some that are in the North American part. Now, once that happens, then as they evolve from wherever they're from. If you were in Europe, you're a European. If you're in Asia, you're an Asian. You're Asian. If you were in the Americas, you're one of the Americans. If you're in North America, then you would have been, out of all the parts of America, there were different tribes. If you Google a map of the Americas, they would have been in different parts of America. My specific family was in the southern region of Maryland at that time. That would have been along the Potomac, which encompasses what they call the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They were called Piscataway Indians. Now, that would have been on my father's side. My mother's side, they would have come out of the Carolinas. I can't think of what they were different. I think there were 2 or 3 different tribes there. Now, if that is fact, then why am I calling myself African? I'm American because that is where my family derived from in America. Not the original man, but where my family, where my culture, see, I'm using that word and I really hate that word, where my families and my family's families originated from. If you've been here in this country 20 years and you're from Japan, do you now call yourself American? Now, if you're a citizen, maybe so. Or maybe you'll say I'm Japanese American. But that wouldn't be my family's. They couldn't call themselves Japanese American. They couldn't call themselves African American because they originated here in the Americas. So I don't call myself black. I certainly don't call myself a color. I'm American Indian. Piscataway specifically. So again, help me understand. If you don't understand what I just explained to you, then either you're not trying to pay attention or you want to obfuscate what I said based on how you think it should be. Just because my skin is brown doesn't mean I'm black. Who the hell identifies as a color? I don't. It makes no sense to me. It's stupid. Why call yourself white? And here's another interesting fact for you. Chat GPT it and you find it out. Do you know when some Italians and some Irish came here uh, back when a lot of people tried to populate the areas, especially in New York? They called them black. Did you know that? If they could not identify what you were, they had to put you in a box. So they called you black or white. Makes no sense. Now, obviously, when I was younger, coming up, didn't know any better. Oh, I'm a black man. No, that I haven't identified that forever because I understand the difference. I did enough research on my family history. The different um, families that I came up under, be it my mother or my father's side, to understand. Wow, I'm not from Africa. And again, somebody not listening. I didn't say that the original man didn't come out of that area. But over all the generations, be it Asian or European, why don't they call themselves African European or African Asian? Right? They don't call themselves that, right? So why am I calling myself African American or black? Peace.